This is Tony from Witch Vomit and Torture Rack. I'll see you in the Tampa Morgue.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue Season 3, Episode 117. And as always, from his studio deep in Tampa Bay, Florida, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, Mr. Webb?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Back here in the studio preparing for Episode 117. And tonight we'll be over in Portland, Oregon. Oh, that's where our guest will be. But first of all, man, before we talk about that, how was your Turkey Day?
It was good. Excellent. 2 years, 2 years the day after Thanksgiving that my dad passed. So that's the only thing that, I hate. But
And I hate to say it seems like yesterday, but it doesn't seem like it's been 2 years.
yeah, it's been 2 years, man. Yeah, it was good, man. Food was great. Was outside throwing the football with Bryce, which hadn't done that in a long time because trying to launch off my foot with a bad hip all those years between throwing a football and, as you know, I've been doing a lot of cold plunging and hot tub and sauna. I'm trying to get my body like as strong as I can, work out. Just got a new lat pull down, so my home gym is almost complete. I like literally don't have to go anywhere. It's the best feeling ever. So
Now,
yeah, Turkey Day was great.
when you guys are out there, are you in your Polk High football jersey like Al Bundy?
Yeah. No, I'm actually more like fucking Napoleon Dynamite. I could throw the ball over the mountain and shit. I'm Uncle Rico. No, but it's amazing because the kid hasn't touched. He hasn't really done anything, and he's so fast and he's got great hands, like for catching. I mean, he was really a good receiver, and it's amazing that he gave up on it. He didn't want to do it. He realized that there was nothing in it for him. Like there were just too many people. Like getting a career in football is just non-existent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, my father worked for the Washington Redskins, and I think the thing with football is sometimes it's more fun to watch on TV than actually have to go through the 6 o'clock
Unless
training
you're
and
a
all that shit,
unless you're
man.
a Giants or Raiders fan.
Oh my god, misery. You're definitely miserable if you're one of those, I could tell you personally, but, yeah, Turkey Day's over. Is everything fucking Christmas now? Like, 'cause it's usually after Halloween in the States, right? Everything is like Christmas lights and trees, late October.
Yeah, so we have the even though our kids are grown up, we do she likes to put some stuff up for Halloween. So we have blow ups for Halloween. Then we have the blow ups for Thanksgiving with the little fucking we got like a turkey that she bought. It was supposed she got screwed. It was supposed to be um Travis Kelsey's number on his thing, and it was supposed to be a red turkey with the red jersey, and they sent a blue one with the number 12. So it's like Tom Brady instead, which I laughed because I didn't want to put a Kelsey one out in front of my house because that guy can fuck off. But then I bought this other little one, and I'm like, holy shit, I already got to take them down. And we've got like 5 giant Christmas blow ups I got to put up. And I'm thinking, thank God I left the lights up, man, because I don't have to put those up. I just plug them in. But other than that, yeah, it's all she's already like, she already put the Christmas tree up last week before Thanksgiving. I'm like, why? We have
Of course,
cats.
yeah.
I'm like, we have cats. Do you realize, do you not remember what happened the year before last to that poor tree? We bought a brand new tree. We had to throw it away after Christmas. They absolutely mutilated the tree. So we bought this thing now. It's a big circle thing that goes around the tree and it's got 2 holes in it. The cats can go in and run around it so that it's supposed to be a deterrent for them messing with the tree. The cat was in the middle of the tree this morning when I went out there. I'm like, yeah, so good for that. So yeah, it's already fucking Christmas, and yeah, yeah. I'm not
We're
in.
only at December 1st as we're
I
recording
know.
this, it's fucking crazy. My kids are all stoked, we don't have any decorations up yet, but I hear about it every day, and, they are definitely ready, and, it's that time,
Yeah,
yeah, we opened up the show tonight with Witch Vomit, Funeral Sanctum, from the Funeral Sanctum album that came out on 20 Bucks Spin, April 5th, 2024. And we're going to be joined by Witch Vomit guitarist and vocalist and Torture Rack guitarist Tony Thomas, aka Tempter, in about 25 minutes. Portland, I mean, some great bands, Oregon, bands that like Toxic Holocaust, Lord Dying, who we actually played with them with Toxic Holocaust, if you remember that Dead Moon out of there, which was what, Fred Cole and, Tootie Cole. I think Fred passed away in, like, 2017. Poison Idea, who we're both big fans of.
did a cover
Obviously
song of them.
Jerry A and Pig Champion, which we'll do our own little plug here. We did a cover of, Just to Get Away from the 1990 Darkness record. I think it also was on 7-inch in '89 also, but, we did a cover of that on our Flesh Reaper demo, One Day Closer to Death, End of the Joke that we put out in 2015, and also the split we did with Chris Reifert's, Violation Wound on 7-inch that same year, so anybody who hasn't checked out that, we did a Poison Idea cover of that, but some
And
great
no,
bands.
come on, man, don't sell it short. Even the dude told you it was a great cover.
Yeah, we got the thumbs up from Jerry A. But yeah, I mean, big Poison Idea fans. A lot of other bands came out of there, Cattle Decapitation, Drawn and Quartered. So we're going to talk to Tony tonight about that, about the history of both bands, his start and everything. So He'll be on here in I'd say about 20 minutes. But and upcoming guest wise, next week, I'm not going to announce anything. We kind of have a couple things in the works right now. We don't want to announce it until it's 100%. But I will tell you that I know at the end of December, we're going to have the drummer Scum and guitarist Atax of the German black metal band Pest on, who's been around for like 28 years. They just put out their 6th full length titled Eternal Nightmares. But they're from Germany, so I know they are confirmed. And we have some other stuff we are working on. Like we always say, pay attention to the Instagram page. That's where we put most of our updates. Because we've had, a lot of times we maybe don't always mention who's coming on or announce it because we kind of screwed ourselves a few times back in the past. And so we've had recently, we've had the guys from Disaster on out of Germany. We had last week was W. Horror Preacher from Vomit Angel and Mask of Satan. We had Simo from Flame, and then Daniel Avenger from Nocturnal, and Black Priest of Satan, Ed Miller from Negative Plane. And I believe a lot of those we didn't announce prior until we recorded them. Could be wrong, but it's always better safe than sorry, right, Webb?
Unfortunately, because people's schedules can change at any time, and it just, things happen. I know my schedule, we've had it pop up where a guy's like had to move something and, I had to step out because it just didn't work.
People don't realize that probably, Ed, too, is our time schedules, we're all hours apart and stuff. And there has been a few times where things have changed and, it's fucking 3:00 in the morning for Ed or 4:00 in the morning. So it's, if anybody ever wonders why Ed might not be on, I think there's only like maybe two.
You're in Lithuania and I'm in Florida. People don't realize that that's 3 different time zones, like big time zones. So
that's how it works around here.
Yep.
And we always try to accommodate the guest, especially when they're from other countries.
We make it work. It's just sometimes if somebody has to, because we've had a couple where they flipped their time schedule because of something, and I was already obligated for something else, and I don't want to have to move
well, plus you have monstrosity. Sometimes you got to go do that. There's just shit going on. It's just
well, usually we work around that in advance, well in advance. But yeah definitely.
But we make it work always on here, and we do have some guests we're talking to, and one is a legend from the Tampa Bay area, which I, hopefully we get that sealed up pretty soon, and I guarantee you it will not disappoint at all.
Yep.
So
we've had a few on here that when you look back, you go, "Holy shit!" You know. And this is a holy shit one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bucket list or whatever you want to call it. But Ed, I say we do what we do on here. We're going to have, we have a guest tonight. We're going to go over the usual stuff, the shows, the musicians who passed away, the upcoming releases. We're going to run the Death Metal Dave Tampa Bay Museum of Metal promo. So what do you think? You got anything else, or you want to get the show moving?
Let's move it. Let's get it going.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, before we get to the Death Metal Dave promo, I am going to play a track. I'm going to play a track from Torture Rack, since Tony's going to be joining us. I'm going to play Torture Rack, Decrepit Funeral Home from 2023, and I'll play that, and then what we'll do is we'll run the promo for the Tampa Bay Museum of Metal, do the musicians who passed away, and then we'll do the releases, and then we'll get to Tony. And again, anybody who listens to this show regularly, first of all, we do thank you as always, for sitting through the promos and stuff like that. We understand that you've heard it all before, so thank you for that. Before we get to the Death Metal Dave promo, this is Torture Rack with Decrepit Funeral Home, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue with Death Metal Dave, releases, musicians who passed away, and then shows. We're back on the Tampa Morgue after this track.
In your face.
What's up, Tampa Morgue listeners? This is Death Metal Dave from the Tampa Bay Museum of Metal. And I'd like to ask you to join us on February the 7th at Magnanimous Brewery, Seminole Heights, where we're going to have a killer display of Florida metal history. Backdrops, guitars, drums, clothing, you name it, we're going to have it. And it's pretty freaking cool, man. Come out and support the metal and drink our Tampa Bay Museum of Metal beer. And always listen to Tampa Morgue with Tony and Ed. It's Death Metal Dave. In your face.
And that was Dave Allison, a.k.a. Death Metal Dave from the Tampa Bay Museum of Metal. And for more information, visit www.tampabaymuseumofmetal.com. There you will find all the Tampa and Florida metal history that dates back to 1982 and takes you to the current day. And if you're in the Tampa Bay area, February 7th or 8th, hope to see you out there and meet Ed will be hanging out, and it should be a great time. Before that, we did play some Torture Rack. We played Decrepit Funeral Home, and we'll be joined by a Torture Rack guitarist, Tony Thomas, a.k.a. Tempter, also the vocalist and guitarist of Witch Vomit. He'll be on here probably in about 20 minutes, I'd say. And if you are new to the Tampa Morgue, we appreciate you checking us out. This is episode 117. To contact us, you can always email us at thetampamorgue@gmail.com. And for the most accurate updates, visit the Instagram page. You can also message us on there. We will reply. If you are new to the show, you can find 116 episodes. There you will find interviews with musicians like Chris Volcano from Abominator, Destroyer 666, Cemetery Urn, and Denouncement Pyre. It's his actual first audio interview ever. You'll find interviews with Ritual Butcher of Finland's Archgoat and Morgul out of Finland, Hexea out of Texas. Adam from Cardiac Arrest was on the show. Sergeant Salston from Norway's Deathhammer. We had the guys from Norway's Heimland on here. We had Blaine Cook of The Accused and The Accused AD and The Farts on the show. Lord Araman from Dark Funeral. Vincent Crowley from Acheron, Nocturnus, and the Vincent Crowley Band. He's been on here a few times. Bobby G of Overkill and Satan's Taint. Our first interview ever, Pat of Hellwitch. Also, John Gallagher of Raven. Dave Austin of Nasty Savage. Speaking of Nasty Savage, a few weeks ago, we had a 4-hour episode with Nasty Ronnie of Nasty Savage, which is a deep dive into the Tampa Bay metal scene for anybody interested. We also had Anti, a.k.a. Necroterror, from Cadaveric Incubator and Slugother and Satanic Warmaster on the show. Yarno of Finland's Urn, Graves, and also Ex-Barathrum. We had Chris Reifert of Autopsy, Eat My Fuck, Abscess, and Violation Wound on the show. Paul Speckman of Master, Deathstrike, Abomination, and Cadaveric Poison on here. Yano of Anal Vomit. Udo from Accept. We had Columbus's Witch Trap on here. We had Snowy Shaw from King Diamond, Merciful Fate on the Morgue. King Fally of Deceased on October 31. Dawn of the Dead from Nunslaughter and Satanic Threat. Mangus from Aberration and Mayans Hill. We had Tony Dolan from Venom and Venom Inc. and Adamcraft on the show. And speaking of Venom, we had Jeff Manis on here. He took us on a 5-hour deep dive history lesson onto the world of Venom, which, as I always say, if you're a Venom fan, I 100% recommend it. You won't be sorry. Jim and Pat from Morbid Saint was on here. Terry Butler from Death, 6 Feet Under, Obituary, Massacre, Inhuman Condition, and Denial Fiend. Another episode that's full of Tampa Bay history. Kyle Thomas from Exhorder, Trouble, and Floodgate. Dallas Toller Wade from Nile, Narcotic Wasteland on the show. He was on here a few times, actually. We had Vietnam's Blood Serpent. Jamie Bailey from Brodequin, Harry Quokinen from Hooded Menace, Hail Conjurer, and Horse Latitudes, Lee Payne from Clove and Hoof, Gene from Angel Corpse, Perdition Temple. We had Glenn Destructor on from Australia's Destructor, Eric from Goat Seaman, Alessio from Violenter and Hobbs Angel of Death. We had Henry from God Dethroned on here, Louisma from Hemorrhage and Depopulation Department. We had Rob from Lucifericon and Destroyer 666 on the Tampa Morgue. We had Luciferian Rights out of Mexico, Phantom out of Mexico, Ronnie Palmer from Malevolent Creation and Blood Messiah and Perdition Temple on here. We had Jesse Jolly from Malevolent Creation on here, John Walker from Cancer, Lord Sabathan from Slaughter Messiah, enthroned in Morbid Death. And speaking of Slaughter Messiah, we had John Berry from Slaughter Messiah on here. We had Necromaniac out of the UK on the Morgue. As you can see, there's a lot of old episodes you can go back and listen to. We pretty much do an episode every week, give or take. So, we appreciate you checking it out. And yeah, it's all for free wherever you stream your podcasts. And next, what we're going to do is something that we always do on the Tampa Morgue. We are going to mention the musicians who passed away. And we're going to start with Alejandro Pereira, an Argentina-born drummer for the bands Doc and Marginal. He passed away. And next, we're going to go to Rodney McLaughlin, a U.S.-born bassist. He played in the bands Hiss of Atrocities, Omega Point. He also had a YouTube channel titled Rodney MCG that had around 200 plus videos on there where he gave lessons, bass demos, and reviewed gear. He lost his battle with cancer at the age of 54. Next, we have Dan Hepner, a guitarist from the UK heavy metal band Killer Cure. Also was the owner of a guitar shop named Live Louder. He passed away at the age of 51. Next, we have Alfonso Antonio Segura Preto, a Mexican-born vocalist and bassist for the black metal band Abysmal Depths and Suicidal Years. He committed suicide at the age of 33 on November 25th. Next, we have Mark Van Collenberg, Belgium-born guitarist of the 80s band Crossfire. He passed away at the age of 67. And then next we have Dave Curley, a UK drummer for the band Hug. He was also an engineer in Newcastle at the First Avenue Studios, worked on albums from Blitzkrieg, Live Burial, Plague Rider, Warrior, and also worked with the band Satan. And last we have Indonesian vocalist Alexander Theodore, who passed away at the age of 64. He played with Arrow and Endane. Now we're going to move over to releases, and then we're going to talk about some shows, and then we're going to get to our guest, Tony Thomas, a.k.a. Tempter from Witch Vomit and Torture Rack. First, let's start out with Perdition Temple. Malign Apotheosis. It's coming out on Hell's Headbangers. Perdition Temple formed in 2009. First release came out in 2010. This will be the band's fifth full-length and a follow-up to the band's 2022 Merciless Upheaval record that came out also on Hell's Headbangers. I believe all the band's albums came out on Hell's Headbangers except for the debut, which came out on Osmos. And even Hell's did a reissue of that in 2022, I believe. This album came out on November 28th and has 8 tracks on it. Next, we're going to go over to The Host, a Brazilian black death metal band. They're putting out an EP titled Godlike Emperors. The Host formed in 2004. First release was a demo titled Dark New Age that had 4 tracks on it, which also included a cover of Sarcophago's Midnight Queen. In total, the band has released 3 demos, a handful of singles, and this will be the band's 4th EP. Features members past and present of Denial of Death, Morbid Prophecy, Abysmal Agony, Dead Human Race, and Internal Torture. Next, we have Untimely Demise, the Canadian thrash death metal band. They're putting out an EP called Killing Authority. Untimely Demise formed in 2000. First release was a 4-song EP in 2009 titled Full Speed Metal. In total, the band has released 5 full lengths, the last being in 2022 titled Maverick. Killing Authority will feature 5 tracks and will be available December 2nd. Next, we have Omega Vortex, the German black thrash metal band. They're putting out a full-length titled Diabolic Messiah of the New World Order. That's coming out on Third Eye Temple out of Poland. Omega Vortex formed in 2017, put out a single in 2017 and a demo in 2018. The band's first full-length was their 2020 release titled Black Abomination Spawn that came out on Invictus Records. The band features members past and present of Possession, Beyond, Nocturnal, Despondency, Cruel Force, and Blood Vengeance. Diabolic Messiah of the New World Order will be available December 5th on Third Eye Temple. Next, we have Blood Red Throne, the Norwegian death metal band. They're putting out an album called Siltskin on Soul Cellar Records out of the Netherlands. Blood Red Throne formed in 1998, put out a demo in 2000, and the band's first full length was in 2001 titled Monument of Death that came out on Hammerheart Records. Siltskin will be the band's 12th full length, have 9 tracks on it, and Siltskin will be available December 5th on Soul Cellar Records. And we're going to stick with the Soul Cellar record releases. And next we have the Spanish death metal band Soprocol. Beneath the Shroud is the name of this one on Soul Cellar Records. The band formed in 2016 and also put out a demo in 2016. In total, the band has released 2 demos, 1 EP, and a comp. And Beneath the Shroud will be the band's second full-length and a follow-up to the band's 2022 full-length From Beyond the Burial Mound. Beneath the Shroud has 11 tracks and will be available December 5th. Anybody who listens to the show knows that we're supportive of zines. That's how I actually started back in the day, doing any kind of media. But Head Split Records has released a 16-page zine / newsletter, cover art by Slovakian artist Jan Zombie Mustang from Hell. This one has interviews with Ectopic Pregnancy, Union, Listerous out of Finland, and some updates on Molder, Torture Rack, and more. Plus, I'm sure you're going to find a bunch of order information in there. Okay. And there's one more release I want to mention. Enthroned is releasing a full length called Ash Spawn on Season of Mist. Enthroned formed in 1993, put out a demo and a split with Ancient Rites in 1994. If anybody hasn't checked out the early releases, me and Ed have talked about these on the show before, like Prophecies of Pagan Fire and On Towards the Skull Throne of Satan. Do yourself a favor and check them out. We had Lord Sabathan on here. Yeah, he was with the band till about 2006. He was on here, a great guest. But Ash Spawn will be the band's 12th full length. It'll have 9 tracks. It'll be available December 5th on Season of Mist. And that's all I have for releases. But Ed, I got to say, man, it's good to hear from Matt and Mary from Untimely Demise. They have we mentioned earlier, they have a new EP coming out. We had Matt on here on episode 53. Matt also with Into Eternity. And Ed, you toured with them. What was it, 2014 with Massacre?
Yes. We did a small European run. I think it was 10 days. I don't know, might be less. But yeah, they were able to jump on in Canada. They offer like what's equivalent to like a scholarship to pay for certain things like that, like bands, and they got a scholarship or
Awesome.
advance to be able to go, and they help split the van with us and all the expenses, that we incurred trying to do a tour, because we were putting that thing on ourselves. We didn't have any backing, but they got to go over there and get seen, because they had never left Canada before. So yeah, it worked out great. It was a great tour. Those are good guys. We did some of our first shows, or two of our first shows were in Canada, and that's where I found them. Because we played a show with them. I forget where it was, because we stayed, like, Eric Greif had set up a show, and this band popped up on stage and they sounded like Creator. And I was like, holy fuck. I was like, and of course none of the other guys were paying any attention. I was like, these guys are fucking ripping. Like, after they were done, I went and talked to them, and here I'm in Massacre, but I don't give a shit. If you're a killer, you're a killer, and I was like, hey man, that was fucking awesome, dude. I said, you guys sound like Creator. And they got all fucking wigged out and shit, and started handing me CDs and a shirt, and we became friends, and when we had the opportunity to take them out, we did. And I've always said we tried to bring them down here, for a couple shows. Remember, we were going to try to do a little south.
Oh yeah,
leg,
yeah.
and it didn't work out because they couldn't do it, and it just wasn't. The problem is, if it's not economically feasible, it's not worth it. So, but yeah, they're good dudes. They put out great music. Matt's a shredder. Yeah, they're good. Great band.
Yeah, I was glad to see that they had stuff going. I hadn't heard from Matt in a while, and
Yeah.
Mary hit us up last night, me and you.
Yep.
And yeah,
Send
they
us
have
new stuff.
new stuff coming out, the new EP. So it was cool
So thanks,
to
Murray.
catch up with them. And anybody who wants to check out anything with Untimely Demise, like I said, we had them on here. We had Matt on here, episode 53. So it's always available. And Ed, let's do the shows, man, and let's get to Tony. 53. That was a long time ago now.
53. Now, when we're talking about 117 and we're at 53. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Some time ago.
Yeah, so I got I have the Obituary, the Florida Swamp tour. We're always going to pimp that, because Obituary are, they're our boys, and they're fucking badass. I don't care who you are. If you don't like Obituary, you don't know anything about music, and you can just.
I think the Tampa shows are sold out already. I could be wrong, but I believe so.
That wouldn't surprise me. But if you don't like Obituary, I heard Taylor Swift's got a new record out. You might like that. But yeah, so they're out touring with on these. I think it's 5 shows, but 2 of them are at the Brass Mug, with Intoxicated, Castrator, and Cold Steel. They're playing in Destin on December 5th at Club LA. In Jacksonville, December 6th at Albatross, at the Conduit on December 7th in Orlando, December 12th in Miami at Gramps, which is a pretty cool club. I've been there. And then the 13th and the 14th of December at the Brass Mug. And you might be right. They may be sold out. So if you didn't get your tickets, then Taylor Swift is still available for your Christmas buying.
I do believe it's sold out, because the Tampa shows, because I've seen people looking for tickets. So it's usually a
Well, there you go.
indicator.
So I
You
guess guess we're all screwed.
Yeah. So I only have a few shows to mention, and then we're going to get to our guest here.
Guess.
I have December 3rd, Queensryche and Accept at Janus Live in St. Petersburg, Florida. I have December 6th, which is a Saturday. Vile Productions presents Mystery Meat out of Texas, Burrito Bow out of Long Island, Blood Tide out of Miami, Law of Casualty out of Tampa, and Narcos. If I'm saying that, I would never know if I'm saying that right. But it's either Narcos or Narcos, maybe, out of Orlando. That's $15. Doors at 7. It's at that brewing company that the Tampa Bay Museum will be at. What is it called again, Ed?
Magnanius?
Yes. Magnanius Brewing, I believe it's called. And that's 6809 North Nebraska Avenue. That's where that show will be taking place. And last December 12th, I Hate God at Downtown Music in Fort Walton Beach. And then I did see too, I will mention the European fans, that Exhumed and Gruesome just announced the tour, Echoes in Red Europe Tour 2026. I believe it's like 23 or 24 dates. I know Madrid was on there, UK, Italy, Poland, Germany, and a bunch more. But so anybody who wants to catch Gruesome or Exhumed, they will be in Europe in the 2026 tour. So I don't have the dates here, but I did see that. And Ed, do you have anything else?
That was all I had.
Yeah, because we'll be back next week, so we'll be able to announce more shows. So everybody, let's get our guest on, Mr. Tony Thomas, a.k.a. Tempter from Witch Vomit and Torture Rack. And before we do that, we're going to play some Witch Vomit. We're going to play Circle of Blood from the Poisoned Blood EP that came out on June 30th, 2017 on $20 Spin. Came out on 12-inch. Also a cassette release with Head Split Records and a CD version with Nuclear Winter. We're going to play that, and we'll be back on with Tony. This is Witch Vomit with Circle of Blood from the Poisoned Blood EP. We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track. We are joined by Witch Vomit guitarist and vocalist and Torture Rack guitarist, Tony Thomas, aka Tempter. How you doing, dude?
Doing good. How about you?
Good, man. Glad to have you on the show, dude. Great to talk to you. You guys just played in Sacramento last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, last weekend. It was awesome. It was the first edition of a fest called Wretched Rites, and I think it was the first metal fest they've ever done in Sacramento.
Yeah, we had this band on from Vietnam probably 2 years ago, actually. And one of the dudes from the band actually told me that he was going to see you guys play. Blood Serpent was the name of the band, and yeah, I was like, oh yeah, he's coming on our show this week.
I haven't heard of him. I don't think I met that guy either, but that's awesome that he made it that far.
Yeah, he was out there seeing the show, and you guys played in October too, right? You guys played with Asphyx.
Yeah. That was our one local show this year, but it was sick. Yeah, they hadn't been through here in a few years, so cool to play with them and see them again. Those dudes are always good live and a fun hang. They're pretty funny guys.
We always start out from the beginning. You're born and raised in Portland.
Yeah, still here.
1994?
Yeah, that's right.
So you're like 34. That would make you you had luck as a kid. Your dad actually was into like rock music at a young age and had a collection of like old 80s records and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I was kind of raised on that sort of shit, like the anything from Alice Cooper to probably Slayer at the heaviest, but I've like always been around like 80s heavy metal.
Do you remember the first like band that caught your attention, like whether AC/DC or Sabbath, but the first band that you actually said, "Hey, I'm into this"?
I mean, Metallica for sure.
And you also had piano lessons from your aunt as a kid too, at the age of 6?
Yep. Uh, yeah, that's what I started on. She still teaches piano and just, I think as a kid, your parents want you to try to learn some sort of instrument. So that's what I started on, but that was not too fun for me.
But you have, like, a lot of musicians in your family. The person who taught you piano was the wife of your cousin who played in a ska band, and you also had relations to somebody who played in the Cherry Poppin' Daddies?
Yeah. Oh man, you did your research. Yeah, totally. Yeah, like my extended family, there's a lot of people that played in bands around town and uh so I had a lot of musicians like always around instruments and everything. Not necessarily the kind of music that I liked, but it was cool to always have the option to like fuck around on a bass or drums or guitar, piano. So I think that sort of planted the seed for me early to want to play.
Do you remember, like, the first record that you actually purchased that your dad didn't hand you down with your own cash?
I think the first thing I bought was a Best of Kiss CD. And uh I think the first couple things I bought were Kiss CDs, and then Living After Midnight, a best of Judas Priest. I was getting bests of all. I figured that was the way to go because it was the best of. But
How could you go wrong?
yeah,
How was, like, the selection of record stores when you were, 'cause that's what, 2000s?
yeah, I mean, awesome. I didn't get into buying records until I was in like high school, but I was buying CDs early. Once I got into like underground metal, there was a place that we'd always go to called Everyday Music, and in like that mid 2000s era is when everybody was just selling all of their CDs because everyone was getting into, downloading music. So I could go in there and it would be like someone's entire metal collection and it would be nothing. So I'd just go like based on the cover, like, all right, I'll just get a stack of CDs and hope for the best. So it was killer. Got to, find out a ton of bands by ourselves that way.
Yeah, you mentioned Metallica. So when you first pick up a guitar, it's at 13 years old, and you first start learning what, Black Flag and Metallica tunes?
Yep. That was pretty much it. Yeah, Black Flag, Metallica, Black Sabbath. I think those were pretty much the first riffs, and then Slayer eventually. And I
Do
took
you remember the
lessons
first?
for a couple years.
I was gonna ask you that, yeah. Do you remember the first song you actually learned to play?
I don't. I think probably if I had to guess, the first riff I learned would have been "Smells Like Teen Spirit" because my sister knew how to play that, so she showed me.
Your sister plays guitar too?
She doesn't. No, she went to like some sort of like rock and roll summer camp thing, and I think that was the one tune she walked away with. So I had her show me how to play that, and then I started lessons like a couple years later.
What was your first guitar?
It was a white. What's the Fender cheap version? Squire, a Squire
Fender Squier.
Stratocaster. Yeah.
In 2025, what is your gear of choice now?
I got a pretty random selection. I have a BC Rich Mockingbird, and then I've got a LTD, like the Les Paul looking one with the Floyd Rose. Got a Jackson, Inky. I don't know. I'm not really loyal to any brand, just whatever feels nice and the price is right.
At 13 years old, you started playing drums also?
Yeah, somewhere around there. 13, 14. And my parents were cool enough to buy me a drum set and let me play drums all day. Yeah, I kinda just learned everything. I had a little group of friends that we would all switch off and, you know, try guitar, drums, bass, whatever.
What is it, like 14, 15? You started hitting, like, the metal and punk shows in the area?
Yeah, right around there. Yeah, probably 14, started going to the first shows.
What are some of the venues you guys have over there when you're at that age?
We had the tail end of Satyricon on its second time around, which was kinda like the legendary venue in Portland that was around in the '80s and '90s, and then they brought it back in the 2000s. I think it closed again in 2010 or 11. A lot of shows at Satyricon, Hawthorne Theater, and then a lot of, like, DIY shit. There was, like, a bookstore called Laughing Horse Books we'd play at, Blackwater Records, a lot of house shows back in that time too. That was more popular.
Do you remember the first concert you ever went to? Not even, like, extreme, but just the first actual show you went to as a kid?
Yeah, it was 3 Inches of Blood and Toxic Holocaust.
Yeah,
And
'cause you guys
I never went to, like, a show as a kid. I don't know why, but it just never happened.
what age was that show that you when you went to that?
Probably, like, 14 or something.
When do you start becoming aware? Because you guys have, like, you think about it, like, Poison Idea, Lord Gore, Cattle Decapitation, you said Toxic Holocaust, Drawn and Quartered and stuff. When do you start becoming, like, I don't know, familiar with what some of the bands like that in your area, like these, not mainstream bands, but the bands who are kinda put a name for themselves out there?
Well, I knew about the punk bands pretty early. One of my, uncles, he knew the Wipers because he used to see them in the '80s, and when I started getting into punk and, that whole thing, he showed me, he's like, "Oh, there's a band from here that I used to know, the Wipers," and showed me Dead Moon. So I knew about that stuff pretty early, and I thought it was cool that there was kinda, like, some unique bands from here that had their own sound, and then Poison Idea a little bit later. And I wasn't aware of the metal scene until, yeah, a little bit later, 14, 15. Vinny got me into the local scene that was going on at the time. So, like, the Engorged, Lord Gore type thing.
You met what, Vinny in 8th grade?
Yeah, or 7th grade. So we've known each other forever now.
The first extreme show you went to was the General Surgery, and you mentioned Engorged and, Superbad?
I think that was the first one. Yeah, it was one of the first ones. It was definitely the most, impactful one.
What venue was that at?
That was at Satyricon.
You become part of, the Portland punk thrash metal band Dr. Loomis, and that's what, when the drummer quit and that's actually your first band you ever got involved with?
I didn't join them until 2010. I think they probably started in 2008. Um, and yeah, that was like the first, band that played shows I was in. I I had a group of friends that we would fuck around and, we wrote a couple songs, but that was, yeah, the first, I guess, real band that I was in.
When did you, like, really know that you wanted to be in a band?
I mean, pretty early once I started jamming with friends, and the second we learned a song by a different band and played it all together, it was like it's a cool feeling. And then once you write, your first shitty little songs, it's also, it's kind of a big moment for a young guy, so I think I knew right then.
Where are you and, Dr. Loomis jamming at when you first get in the band?
Vinny's parents' basement.
You guys so your first show with the band is, when?
Yeah, I don't remember the first show I played with them. I was probably only in the band for a little over a year or something, but it would have been like 2010 or 2011. I know the last show we played was 2012. We played like a festival here with a bunch of sick bands: Autopsy, Wehrmacht, Vastum, Weregoat. But yeah, I really don't remember the first show, honestly.
You guys are doing Dr. Loomis for, like you said, about a little bit under a year maybe. You guys are doing shows and stuff, and you and Vinny are already jamming on the side, right? But you at that time, he's actually jamming on the drums and you're jamming on guitar.
Yep. Yeah. We played the first Witch Vomit show while Dr. Loomis was still a band. So I guess, yeah, it was probably 6 months or so of overlap there. But we just kind of wanted to start playing death metal rather than what we were doing. And I think the switching instruments was just sort of for fun because I feel like I was a better guitar player than a drummer. And he picked up the drums pretty fast. So kind of just worked out and progressed from that.
Yeah, because when you guys first start Witch Vomit, right, that's when he's learning how to play the drums when you guys first put the band together.
Yeah, he played in a punk band for a little bit, but as far as like metal drumming, yeah, it was just jamming together, figuring out double bass and blast beats kind of on the fly.
And at first, you guys are doing this as a two-piece.
Yeah, we did it as a two-piece for a while. Then we had a bass player for a little bit and went back to a two-piece again.
And the bass player you got was, Jordan Snap.
That's right, yeah.
And how long did he stick with the band for?
It wasn't too long. He played on the Drown in Filth demo, but I mean, maybe a year, something like that, maybe a little less.
What's the first song you guys started jamming on? Because 'Cause weren't you guys doing a cover at first?
Yeah, I think the first thing we learned, yeah, it was Coffins. What is that song? Under the Stench was the first song we learned.
And Vince came up with the name Witch Vomit?
Yep, he did.
And who
And he
did you
drew the
guys
logo. He drew the logo too. Yeah.
Man. And you guys are at that time, are you guys still is it still basement rehearsals?
Yeah, definitely. It was for quite a while, which was cool. Actually, you know what? We might have graduated to the living room at that point.
And what's the first, Witch Vomit song you guys actually wrote?
I think Necrotic Lust was the first song we wrote.
And so how long does it take you guys to get the material together for the first demo?
It happened pretty fast. Necrotic Lust and Vomit Ritual, we wrote pretty quickly. And then there's two other songs on that first demo. I mean, shit, we probably did it in a month or less. I don't know. I mean, it was easy as two people to write songs because, one person writes the riffs, someone plays the drums, and you don't have to teach anybody else shit. So
Early on influence-wise, you guys I mean, obviously, you started out with the punk and the metal, but obviously you get to more of the extreme stuff and, obviously there's definitely a lot of influences you can hear in the band, but what were some of the influences that was heavy for you back then when you guys first started doing Witch Vomit?
a lot of the death metal bands that were more punky because that was kind of where our skill level was at. So things like Autopsy, Repulsion, Empatigo, like that was more or less what we were trying to do, but there was a doom element too. I mean, we liked the incantations and stuff like that. We just weren't quite good enough to play something like that at the time. But yeah, the punky death metal, Autopsy would have been the biggest influence for sure.
you mentioned Autopsy, like, with Vincent too, his drumming, what he's influenced by, like, Chris, obviously, Ryford, and then Flo from Cryptopsy and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's I think that's his 2 main ones. I mean, I know he likes Immolation a lot too and Suffocation, but we try and keep it a little primitive, you know? Use a lot of thrash beat, kinda keeps it aggressive and
Yeah, because 'cause you're not so when you first formed this band, you it's like old school death metal you wanna do. You're not much of a into the technical thing.
no, not really. I mean, he likes Cryptopsy a lot, and I do too, but, we wanted to keep it pretty primitive, and that's mostly I mean, that's the kinda music we like the most. I like some technical stuff now, but it doesn't do it for me the same way as the more old school, sort of simple things do.
Yeah, were you into any of the Florida bands?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, Deicide and Morbid Angel are probably my favorite. Yeah, we loved all that. Still love all that kinda stuff. I think in my first, like, batch of metal CDs I got was Death Leprosy, and that was a game changer for sure, and that was a big influence. And then later on, like, the first Deicide, Obituary, Cause of Death.
We always the first Deicide, we were just talking about this, me and Ed, probably yesterday. I think I look back, man, I still think the first Deicide ranks up there was the best albums ever, of that,
Yeah, it's the
that
best.
genre. I mean, it's just fucking it's a great record. Um, and you guys do that first demo. Do you guys do that at Vinny's house on a 4-track?
Yep, that's right, and we did a we did one before, and, the guy that was gonna put it out initially accidentally dubbed over it, and I'd like to think that that one was better, but, I'm probably just making that up. But then we had to re-record it.
And, Jordan drew up the artwork on the demo. It's, influenced by Creepshow 2.
Yep, the raft
Right.
thing where the lady gets swallowed up by that slime monster, that's the
On the lake scene.
yep.
And how do you hook up with, Dylan from Headsplit Records so early on? Because I know Dylan from obviously Disguster and stuff, but you guys had known him prior?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how we met, but, I saw his band super early on, Necro Drunks. It's him and Seth, who's the drummer of Torture Rack. Uh, yeah, that was probably one of the first, like, underground house shows I went to. I saw them, and that band, I don't know if you ever heard them, but there was, like, two-piece grind, kinda like, you know, maybe a little Anal Cunt influenced, especially at that time, but I hadn't seen anything like that, and I just thought they were fucking awesome, and so, I mean, we became friends pretty early on, and, yeah, I don't remember how I got Dylan to agree to put it out, but I'm glad he did because the guy that initially was gonna do it, that dubbed over it, wasn't really a metal guy, he was like a noise guy, so probably no one would have heard the tape if he would have released it.
Yeah, and that's one thing which I was gonna mention to you during the interview, and I'll mention it now, is I've noticed with you, like, with the bands, even with your with especially with Witch Vomit, the track record there, you pretty much stay loyal, like, if you're happy, like, I know we're gonna talk about Red Lantern a lot and stuff like that this interview, the artist you guys use with Sticker and stuff, Matt Sticker, you pretty much if you're satisfied with it, you kinda stay with the same pattern.
Yeah, that's true, and I think it's kinda cool to have, like, continuity in a band with art and recording and everything too. So, it's like we've kept the same lineup rather than with other than, like, adding people, so it's like, "Fuck it, if it works, we're not gonna change it."
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna play one of the tracks from the demo here in a second, man, but when you guys put out that demo, what are you just giving it out to friends and stuff like that? Or, like, who are you sending that out to?
I mean, Dylan did all that, because I guess, it's a demo that came out on a label, which is, helpful because he had already people buying from him and kinda was established in the underground, so he circulated it for us, so that helped us out a lot.
How stoked were you, man? It's your first demo, I mean, you got a label releasing it, I mean, obviously, it's early on, obviously, since then, you guys have done some stuff and played with a lot of bands you grew up listening to, which has to be a trip too. Um, how was it when you first put out your first demo and it's coming out on Headsplit?
I mean, it's awesome. I've listened to that, like, somewhat recently, and it's brutally raw, but it, people still liked it, I guess. You can hear the riffs enough. But yeah, that was the first release we'd ever done, so it's a big thing. And probably the excitement of that is a lot more than, nowadays. It's like, oh, put out another record. But I think that first tape that you see, you're like, holy shit, we put something out.
Physical copy, right? So
Yeah,
important.
exactly. It's exciting.
I'm gonna play Vomit Ritual off of that. Anthony, you could tell us about this song?
Yeah, second song we wrote. We tried to have a little incantation influence. I think you can hear that going from the slow doomy parts into the primitive blast beats. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of our early songs. We still play it every once in a while. I like it. It's evil and simple.
I want to play that now. This is Witch Vomit with Vomit Ritual. We'll be back with Tony, aka Tempter, after this track on the Tampa Morgue. and that was Witch Vomit with Vomit Ritual. And you mentioned the first show you guys played. That was a house show at a place called the Megaton Leviathan House.
Yeah, that's right. Um, that was a band that was sort of popular in Portland, and they had shows at their house. And we got that through we had a friend that worked at a record store called Green Noise, and he put us on that show. And it was a weird mixed bill, kind of non-metal bands. And we were definitely the only death metal band that played. And we probably didn't play longer than 15 minutes, but it was fun. I remember just seeing people kind of laughing because, I don't know, it's not what they were used to seeing.
Would you guys just played the 4 tracks from the demo, the Necrolust and Into the Absurd and stuff?
I'm pretty sure it was just that. We maybe had a cover at that point, but I'm not sure. It probably was just those 4 songs.
And you mentioned Jordan recorded on that with you, but you played that show as a two-piece, and did Jordan do any shows with you guys?
Yeah, he did a couple. I think we played that before the demo was out. Uh, yeah, he played probably 2 shows with us, and then we went back to a two-piece for a little bit.
You mentioned obviously playing that house show, you're playing with different kind of bands, but early on, you guys are pretty much playing with, like, punk bands and stuff. I mean, is it more punk bands than metal bands you're playing with at the start?
Yeah, for sure. I think mostly just because we were underage and all of our show connections were from Dr. Loomis, so it was kind of like just playing the all-age venues. It's the same bands we used to play with, and we didn't really get to play with a ton of metal bands until later on when we were able to go to bars.
We were talking before the interview, with Dr. Loomis, you didn't do no recordings with them.
No, I didn't do any recordings. I think they did 2 demos, and I don't think either of them ever came out on a physical release, but I think you can find them on YouTube.
And in 2012, you're hanging out with, Dylan and Seth, and at this period, Torture Rack is jamming in their basement?
Yeah, I think so. I think that they started in a basement when I think Pierce broke his foot or something. He's a drummer primarily, so he just, like, learned guitar, and then I think Seth switched to drums and Jason played bass, and that's how they started that band.
So was it Jason, Pierce, and Seth? And you knew so Jason had reviewed your guys' demo prior to you really getting to know him?
Yeah, yeah, I hadn't met him up until after that, but yeah, he reviewed our first demo.
And who approached you about joining the band? Because wasn't Pierce gonna be leaving?
Yeah, I think Seth approached me, and I don't know, maybe Dylan had that idea to have me play guitar or something like that, but yeah, Seth was the only one I really knew at that time, and yeah, that was the thing, Pierce was leaving, so they just needed a guitar player, and, by the time I was up to speed, he was already back in town, so we just kept it going with 2 guitar players.
What was the first couple tracks you had to learn? Because Seth taught you some songs, right, before you actually got in the
Yeah,
band?
I just learned, I think, the first 4 from their demo, Chamber Morbidity, Talent for Torture, Coffin Breath, and I forget the other one, Field of Mutilation. But yeah, Seth taught me that on guitar, and it was kind of that was probably the first time I'd ever learned somebody else's songs, so it was a little weird at first to play, like, somebody else's style, and it was a bit of a struggle, but I got it down eventually.
Did you guys all click right away, though? Just in general, like, hanging out wise, it felt right?
But yeah, for sure.
Witch Vomit and Torture Rack eventually are in the same band room
Yeah,
after that?
yeah, and we've been in the same room for, like, almost a decade now, but
Is you guys share with other bands too, don't you?
yeah, it's just us and Hemorrhoid now. It used to be a ton of bands in there, but yeah, it's just, 6 people, 3 bands, and whatever side projects might be happening.
What's the first song you actually helped write with Torture Rack?
I think for the first album, I only wrote one riff, which was on Beheaded for the Bloodbath. It's like one of the last riffs on that song. They had that album pretty much written. I just had to learn it. And yeah, that was the first riff I wrote for them, was in that song.
And your first show with Torture Rack was, January 2014 at the Analog Theater in Oregon?
No, the first show with Torture Rack was with Sempiternal Dusk and Pleasure Cross and Old Skin. It was like the end of December 2013. And that was the second show, was that Famine Fest.
And that was a 2-day fest, right? And that's the night that, JG decides to join the band with you guys?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I was already playing in Torture Rack, and that would have been the last Witch Vomit show as a two-piece. And yeah, I think he's pretty much like, "You need a bass player." It's like, "Yeah, we probably do." So he joined us, and yeah, we've been together ever since.
You know, that theater, the Analog Theater, which is now it's closed down now, right? Which Vomit played the last show there ever?
I don't know about the last show ever, and I actually was just there last night. They reopened it. It's like an all ages venue now, uh, which is cool because it's a good spot. And it's one of the only venues in that side of town. But yeah, I mean, one of the last shows was us and Viscera Infest from Japan, Fetid, and Necrodrunks.
How is it with the venues there? Do you see a lot of them going under, or is it, like in Tampa, we've seen a lot of places get closed down. There's always a few that still last, like the Brass Mug and stuff. And obviously, we were talking about the Conduit in Orlando earlier. But how is it there? Is it hard for a venue to survive?
It seemed that way for a bit, but there's quite a few that have been around for a long time now, and there's more opening up all the time. So there's no shortage of venues, but some of my favorites have gone under, in recent years. But yeah, there's plenty of places to play.
And when JG joins the band, when he joins Witch Vomit, you guys are about to record the EP, right, for the Webs of Horror. And JG, does he fit right in the band? Does it just work out immediately with him?
Yeah, for sure. We like a lot of the same music, and he's a good bass player, so he fit right in. We had tried somebody else before that, I don't know, maybe didn't take it seriously enough, and he's good. He writes his own bass parts, that's helpful, not just, playing the exact same thing I'm playing. Actually, plays the instrument and fills in the space and everything.
With that EP, the EP we're talking about is the Webs of Horror. That was what? The tracks from the demo and then the addition of the song, Crawl to My Grave?
Yeah, there was Crawl to My Grave, The Webs of Horror, and Tortured Soul. And then it was just 2 songs from the first demo. So yeah, 3 new songs, 2 from the demo re-recorded.
And that's the first time you guys work with, Evan Mirsky? Would you guys AKA Mouse was on that EP?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, he was just a dude we met through like the punk scene, and other people we know had recorded with him. And he has still the same studio, but he has like a nice old school board and did analog recording, which is what we were looking for. Records live, which is also a bonus.
Yeah, 'cause that EP we're talking about, The Webs of Horror, that's 100% live, right? You guys recorded that.
Yeah, totally. Which is, I think, the best way to record. It's a little harder once you have 4 people, but for 3 people, especially we were practicing so much back then and the songs were easy, you know, you get a cool, natural sound when you just record totally live, the 3 of us all in a room.
And with Evan, he's not a total metal guy, right? He's, who's actually the owner of Red Lantern Studios, which we mentioned earlier, is somewhere you guys have been for almost everything you guys have done.
No, he's not a metal dude at all, but he knows his shit, like, pretty well. I mean, yeah, like I said, we knew him from punk, and he played in a heavy metal band for a little while called Ripper, so, we knew he knew a little bit, but once we got in there and we kinda explained what we were going for, he was like, "Oh, cool, I've always wanted to do, like, a Sunlight studio sounding thing. It's like, all right, perfect. That's what we want anyway. So worked out, and he like loaned me a better amp to play with to get the right guitar sound. And yeah, I don't know. He just made it sound killer.
And is it easy? You know, you've worked on him for a while, which we'll see throughout the tonight. Is it easy for you now because you can kind of have like, you know, me and Ed have worked with the same guy for years. You can kind of tell him what you want and not feel like the pressure of like, oh, I can't say anything to this dude because it might piss him off. Like, is there that comfort level with Evan for you?
Oh yeah, 100%. We can experiment with things, and he's pretty good with that too. Like, he's not like a producer, but he'll throw out ideas and everything. I mean, back when we first started, like we didn't know anything, so it's like I wouldn't have thought to put like reverb on the vocals or anything like that. I just didn't even know what that was. So he went ahead and did all that stuff to make sure it sounded right. But now, yeah, I mean, we understand recording a little better and know what to ask for. And we're definitely comfortable.
Well, the artwork for that on the Webs of Horror is done by Matt Sticker and another guitarist. And you actually knew him from shows with Dr. Loomis you had done.
Yeah, he played in a band called Arterial Spray, which was kind of similar to what we were doing. It was like crossover thrash. And we'd played a few shows with him. And he worked at the record store that we would go to a bunch. So, yeah, we became fast friends, and he was just kind of starting doing art. So we figured, you know, he could pull off the sort of art we were looking for.
And that record store that he worked at, that was the one you were talking about earlier that you guys used to go to with the metal selection?
Yep. Everyday Music on Sandy, which is gone now. But yeah, we got all of our CDs back in the day there.
I'm going to play Crawl to My Grave from that now. Anything you could tell us about this track?
Yeah, I mean, that I think was the first thing we wrote for that EP, and it's a D-beat death metal song trying to sound like Nihilist or something. It's pretty simple.
I'm going to play that now. This is Vomit Witch with Crawl to My Grave from the Webs of Horror EP, and we'll be back with Tony after this track on the Tampa Morgue. That was Crawl to My Grave. And JG's first show with you guys, was that at a house party at Dylan's house?
Yeah, I think that was his first show. Yeah, it was like a moving out party. Dylan and Seth and a bunch of other skater and punk guys lived together in a house, and there was a bunch of other people on the same block. And so, yeah, we played their moving out party, and there's a live recording of that on YouTube somewhere.
Are you a fan of the house shows?
Yeah, house shows. I mean, I think it's a crucial thing to have in a scene, especially when you're a kid. Torture Rack played one a couple summers ago, which was kind of fun for old time's sake. Because we always play at bars now, and I kind of forget that that's what pissed me off when I was a kid, was not being able to go to shows. It's like, oh shit, we got to do something for the teenagers that like this stuff every once in a while.
And early on, you guys were doing what shows with Undergang, Necro Drunks, Compulsive Slasher, and a bunch of
Yeah.
others. And also 2014, you and Vince also joined up with Steve of Fornicator, Nocturnal Slaughter, and Neil of Noxious Mutation, and joined up in a band called Smut.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, me and Vinny were a fan of all Neil's bands like Blood Freak and, Whore and Frightmare, all that stuff. So I think he met him somehow and they started jamming together. And after a while, I joined on vocals.
Yeah, what is that horror album? Doing it for the kids?
Yep, that's a sick one.
Yeah, that is definitely a sick one. Um, and you became a member of Torture Rack in 2012. So what the Medieval Mutilation demo was already recorded at that time before you became part of the band.
Yeah, I think I joined in 2013, but yeah, I heard their demo when it came out and I mean, thought it was fucking awesome because there wasn't a ton of people doing that kind of sound, especially where we were. Obviously, that caught my ear.
And your first album with them was the 2015 Barbaric Persecution record, 11 tracks, again with Evan. And what like memories do you have of that recording for you, being the first one with the band?
Probably my favorite memory was we were recording like our intro and we wanted to have sort of like a dungeon sound. We wanted people screaming on it. And Jason found two girls just walking down the street and was like, hey, do you want to come scream on an album? And they came in to the studio just completely unaware of what was going on and sat in the vocal booth awkwardly and just screamed. And then I don't even think we got their names or anything. And then they left.
Was that studio part record store?
It's the same place, Red Lantern. There's a record store in front of it, Blackwater Records. But yeah,
How much time did you spend on that?
Oh, probably just a couple days. We did that pretty fast. And I think we did that completely live too, with just a couple guitar overdubs. But yeah, that was fun. I mean, I think that's my favorite thing we've ever done still. I think that just sounds exactly how we wanted it to sound. And I love all those songs.
Well, a couple of those were from the Mutilation demo.
Yeah, we did all the same, all those 4 songs and then 6 new ones or something.
And you guys are working with Evan again on that one. Do you kind of feel like, obviously what matters what band you're talking about, but like no matter what you guys do, he's kind of a very important part of it?
I think for Witch Vomit, definitely. Yeah. Torture Rack, we've recorded with a few other people at this point. So he's done 2 things with us. But yeah, for sure. I mean, especially now we've done, 6 recordings with him with Witch Vomit. And whatever next, I'm sure we'll do with him too. And it's just easy. He knows the drill at this point.
And the artwork for Barbaric, that was done by Matthew Hopkins. And you guys, he had done a previous t-shirt design for the band before he actually did the album cover?
Yeah, he did a shirt. I'm trying to remember what else he did. We did like a demo compilation a couple years ago and he did that art also.
Pit of Mutilation.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, he's killer. Yeah. I mean, he's got an awesome style, and especially for that album, it totally fits. It's crude and brutal, and it's kind of unique.
And that one came out that's when you guys start. So it comes out on Head Split on cassette, Memento Mori on CD, and then you guys come out in vinyl in 2016 on Parasitic Records. Is that your first time on vinyl?
Yeah, it was. That was a big moment. Yeah, Tim Parasitic put that out. I think he only did 100 or 200 copies, but that was definitely exciting getting that back.
We were talking about with obviously with Red Lantern Studios, but Witch Vomit did a single that was actually not in that's one you guys didn't record with there, right?
Yeah, we did one song not there, yeah, with Mike Lastra, who's like an old Portland legend, I guess. He played in a band called Smegma that was around forever. We recorded at his house because a friend's band Cemetery Lust had recorded there, and we liked the sound of it. And yeah, we just did one song, but I don't know. It wasn't. He's not very involved. He was an old dude, and he was just kind of wanted to get through the day so he could eat lunch and go back to sleep or whatever. So that was our one experiment, not with Evan.
After that, you kind of knew you wanted to go back to the Red Lantern.
Yeah.
2016, you guys are doing shows with Hellshock, Dog Soldier, Rotten Sound, Profanatica, Fornicator, Necro Drunks, Lord Gore. I mean, how at that time, are you guys starting to gain attention in the area?
Yeah, I guess so. We definitely, I mean, that's when probably the year Vinny and I turned 21, I would guess, something like that. So yeah, we were able to, play bar shows and get on more metal shows and starting to play with bands we actually liked. It was a bit exciting. Played with Lord Gore at our friend's strip club. So that's a high point.
You enter Red Lantern next, and you guys do the debut, A Scream from the Tomb Below. And then you guys also hook up with Memento Mori. Obviously, you dealt with them with Torture Rack. What was the reason you guys went with them on the full length?
I think they were the first person to ask about putting something out for us. So we just went with that, I feel like at that point, I wouldn't have figured many people would have wanted to put our stuff out. So the fact that anybody was interested, it was like perfect. And it's a metal label. So I think the guy from God Macabre did the layout, which was kind of exciting for me because I like that band a lot.
You guys have done tours through Europe, and you've done a lot of shit, man. Like, looking back from when you guys first started, does it kind of like, do you ever just sit back and be like, holy shit, man, we're playing with Autopsy, or we're, touring through Europe? Does it ever, or do you take it, not that you take it for granted, but
Oh yeah, I mean, there's moments like that for sure. I feel like as you get older, you get a little bit jaded and certain things you do take for granted, but there's moments, I feel like it's usually in hindsight where I'm like, oh shit, we really just did that, which if you would have told me at 17, I wouldn't have believed it. So yeah, it's cool, man. We've done a lot of shit I wouldn't have thought we would have done at this point.
do you remember your first moment of that? Was it like when you get the vinyl in your hand for the first time, or, you know,
It was big. I think Torture Rack, we did a gig with Angel Corpse in New York. And that was probably, I think, our first like out of town experience other than like playing Seattle or something. And Angel Corpse is like absolutely one of my favorite bands. And especially at that time, that was exciting.
yeah, we had Gene on here. When did, what did you guys play in New York there?
I think it was 2016.
You remember the venue by any chance?
Yeah, I was at St. Vitus.
Ah, St. Vitus, okay, yeah, St. Vitus is gone now too.
Yeah, it sucks.
Sucks. And when you guys are doing, A Scream from the Tomb Below, how long are you guys spending in the studio for that one?
That was probably also 2 or 3 days. I think I came back at one point to fix some vocal stuff that I wasn't happy with. But yeah, we did that one pretty quickly as well.
2 or 3 days is pretty much the time period you guys spend in there in the studio through your releases?
Yeah, I mean, we've done up to like 5 days. Like the last Witch Vomit was 5 days, and the last Torture Rack album was 5 days. But honestly, I think we're kind of primed for 2 or 3 because by that last day, we're just fucking around more or less.
You like the studio, personally?
I do, yeah. That's my favorite part of being in a band, which I know a lot of people dread it, but for me, it's like I'll write a riff or something, and I'm not happy until I finally hear it back, like completed. So getting to turn like a riff into a completed song is the most satisfying thing for me.
We're still speaking about A Scream from the Tomb Below. You guys have Matt Sticker does the art again for you guys. And you guys work with Damien from Horrendous on with the mastering.
Yeah, he mastered that and the next thing for us, which was cool.
What's the writing process at this point? We're talking, for this album, 2016. Is it you, Vince, and JG? Everyone has a hand in the writing, or are you basically writing kind of like a skeleton of the songs and bringing that to the guys, or are you guys doing it in the band room together, assembling everything?
At that point, yeah, we were just like jamming together. I mean, typically it's like Vinny and I, one guitar and drums getting the skeleton of a song, but yeah, everybody wrote riffs on that album, and it was, I feel for the most part, all three of us in the room just working on the songs till they were done. And that happened pretty fast. I mean, I think we recorded that in 2015. And it was all 8 new songs, which is cool for a full length, no re-recordings.
And are you handling all the lyrics?
I think for the album I did, yeah. Vinny wrote the lyrics to Vomit Ritual, but yeah, that was a early thing. But yeah, for that one I wrote all the lyrics, I'm pretty sure.
And influence-wise, what you guys are doing it off of like movies, books, and I think I read Dreams.
Yeah, especially for that. Or just weird, random thoughts about horror and death and shit like that. But that was more horror movie influenced on that first album.
What's your horror like? Are you 80s or are you Italian? Like, do you have a certain genre of horror movies you like?
Yeah, I like the Italian stuff a lot, the Argento and Fulci stuff, but I like a lot of the 80s too, and the 70s, like, kinda satanic thing.
And I'm gonna play Screams from Purgatory here in a second. And again, I mentioned you had Matt do the artwork on this one. How do you, you've worked with Matt. Did you give him like lyrics, or do you give him like sketches, or are you giving him some music, or are you just letting him kind of run with it?
Yeah, I'd usually just kind of write a paragraph or something about what I'm picturing, and that album cover was sort of based on, the Lovecraft story. I think it's The Festival, and just kinda what I pictured that looked like, and he was familiar with that, so he just painted, his idea of how that looked, and it came out killer. That's the only original art, from him that I have.
Nice. And I'm gonna play Screams from Purgatory now. Anything you could tell us about this track?
Yeah, it's the second one we wrote, I think. Jason came up with the doomy part in the middle and that kinda stompy riff. But yeah, I don't know. I like this track. It's cool, mid-paced, little banger.
I'm gonna play this now. This is Witch Vomit with Screams from Purgatory from A Scream from the Tomb Below record that came out in 2016, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track with Tony. That was Witch Vomit with Screams from Purgatory. And we mentioned the band Smut earlier. 2016, you guys also put an album out called Slop.
That's right.
And that also was a Red Lantern experience.
Yeah, it was. That was a different engineer, and I'm blanking on the guy's name, but yeah, that's our one and only recording, and we did that in one day. A long session.
That came out what on tape from Head Split in 2016. I think they also re-released it in 2017. And you guys did a CD version of that on Splatter Zombie Records out of Germany.
Yeah, I guess so. I never got one of those, unfortunately, but I think the majority of our copies burned in a house fire, or that was the story that I was told, but I never got one.
And the art on that was done by Dave from Frightmare and Lord Gore, Fornicator.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he killed it. That's a fucking weird album cover.
And what happened? Just ceased to exist one day?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we played a couple shows, did that album, which we were pretty stoked on, and then somewhere down the line, we just kind of quit agreeing on how we wanted things to work, and Vinny and I left, and that was it, pretty much.
You go back to the Witch Vomit world, and it's 2017. You guys do, which I believe is your favorite release to date, the Poison Blood EP.
Yeah, that's right. That is my favorite one.
Is that when you first start really getting like comfortable with your solos and stuff? Would you say?
Yeah, comfortable with the solos, comfortable with the vocals, and I mean, that was probably the first one that I used like guitar pedals and sort of had some idea about input on how I wanted the recording to sound. And yeah, I don't know, it was a lot of firsts for that. And I think we sort of found our sound a little better on that album. It's pretty violent, and I don't know, it comes across kind of how I'd want us to sound live.
That's when Casey Lynch joins the band also.
She wasn't on that, but she joined like right around the time that was released, or a little bit after.
How did you guys get to know her?
We've known her forever. She played in a grind band that Dr. Loomis played with, and she was playing in the doom band Aldebaran for a while. So we just knew her from the scene, and we started hanging out around then. Yeah, we tried one other friend of mine on guitar, and he was a good guitar player, but he just didn't really have time, and she had time and interest, and yeah, I don't know, just worked out.
Also, you guys first release with a $20 spin. It got your guys' name out there dealing with them.
Yeah, definitely. He helped us a lot. Yeah, at that time, like, he had put out a couple of the new death metal bands I liked, like Vastum and a local band, Bone Sickness, and I figured, if he put their record out, he would probably put ours out. And I'm pretty sure we had, like, already recorded it and had the art and everything, so he didn't have to, front too much money to put it out. It wasn't too big of a risk.
We know when you add Casey in the band too, so you're doing more solos at this time, right? Is that one of the reasons you wanted to add another guitar player into the band?
Yeah, for sure, because I was doing a lot of, like, messy, chaotic solos, trying to be like Trey from Morbid Angel, and I figured it would just kinda sound shitty if I was wailing away and hitting a bunch of sour notes with no other guitar playing behind it.
For you, who are some of the main guys that you really I guess you'd say look up to or have played a part in your journey?
I mean, Trey is a big one for just the weird approach and the chaotic soloing, and always has a killer tone. Bill Steer from Carcass, for sure. The kind of old school rock and roll melodic solos. That's what I would aspire to be, but I'm still not there yet. Yeah, those two for sure are a big influence.
When you start doing vocals, it wasn't something that you really thought about. It was just kind of like, hey, we need a vocalist and I'll just gonna do this?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think it was just, between Vinny and I figure it's easier for a guitar player to do it than a drummer. Yeah, just I probably wanted to do it too secretly, but yeah, I figured it out. Took a long time, but
Yeah, you go over to 2018 back in the torture rack camp. You guys are playing shows with Divine Eve, Cemetery Lust, and it's also you guys' first time in Europe at Killtown Deathfest in 2018.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how was that experience, man?
I mean, that was awesome. That's definitely a musical career highlight for me. That was such a fun fest because we had so many friends bands like from the Northwest and the West Coast. And it was our first time in Europe, so that was kinda huge. And they had a good lineup of, like, old school bands too that I wouldn't have thought we would have been able to see. So it was killer. I mean, it was just a huge party, and it kind of felt like our scene got to have some sort of showcase, on the other side of the world, which was killer.
Were people chanting USA at you guys when you guys were playing at that show?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, how was that, man? I had to kind of be like, what the
I
kinda like,
mean,
what the fuck moment?
yeah, that's the sickest thing. I think it was some Italian dude started that. He was just going nuts and started chanting USA, and people joined in. So that felt good.
Was that your personally first time ever in Europe also?
No, I had gone on vacation, like, when I was a little bit younger. Uh, I'd been to a couple countries, but never been to Denmark before. And I'd been talking to David from Undergang, like, since I was a teenager on Facebook. We traded, like, I gave him the Witch Vomit Torture Rack demo. He sent me a bunch of Undergang stuff. So it was cool to just go out there and, you know, see those guys and play their fest. That was a big deal.
And through traveling, what's your, least favorite airport so far that you've had to go through? Because I think that's probably gotta be one of the worst things about the touring.
Oh, man. That's a good question. I'm gonna say Denver because 'cause I've been stuck there for days at a time. So, yeah, fuck that airport, it's evil.
The 2018 Torture Rack puts out the band's second full length on 20 Bucks Spin, also gets a vinyl release on Parasitic and a cassette release on Extremely Rotten Productions and a head split. It's the first Torture Rack release that is involved with 20 Bucks Spin also.
Yeah, I don't remember what the deal was specifically, but he just did our CD on that, and I think we wanted to work with, Head Split and Parasitic still, so, it's a three-way release, but then the next album, he did put that out on vinyl and everything.
You've been in the band 2018, 6 years now with Torture Rack that would have been around?
Like 5, but yeah, close.
And are you now at this point, are you a big part of the writing process?
Yeah, I definitely wrote more than on that first album. Yeah, it was cool thing about that band is everybody plays guitar, so everybody writes riffs, which is makes songs easy because there's no shortage of riff ideas. So it's pretty cool. It's like fully collaborative effort.
You guys did that one at Underworld Studios?
Yeah, with Charlie from Ascended Dead.
How was that experience for you guys?
Oh, it was kind of brutal, dude. It was like the hottest weekend of the year. It was 110 degrees or something, and we recorded in the same building that we practice in, which is no AC or ventilation of any kind. So we're just locked in a little sweat box. But it was fun. I mean, we had a good time, but it was sweaty.
And who did the artwork for, the Humiliation record? Do you remember?
This is Sebastian, who lived in Seattle. He'd done some art for some friends' bands like Carifragium, and he's done art for like Imprecation. Yeah, he's killer. We only used him for that one.
To play, Festering Castration from that record. Anything you could tell us about this one?
Seth wrote the lyrics. It's about getting your dick cut off. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
sick.
This is Torture Rack with Festering Castration. That was Torture Rack with Festering Castration. 19, Witch Vomit enters Red Lantern again to record the second Witch Vomit full length, Buried Deep in the Bottomless Grave. Again on 20 buck spin, 7 tracks. How was this recording experience for you?
It was cool. It's our first album we did with Casey, so first time we had 2 guitar players. Yeah, I remember it went pretty smooth. We were pretty stoked on the songs.
You know, we mentioned like with Torture Rack, the writing process. Now that you were in that band for a while, at this point, 2019, is it the same pretty much with Witch Vomit? Everybody pretty much has a hand in the writing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's usually Vinny and I will get the skeletons of the songs together, and then if anybody else has riffs, obviously, then we'll go off that. But yeah, it's pretty collaborative deal. But yeah, the majority is Vinny and I kind of getting the bones together and then everybody else filling it out.
And are you guys starting at this period, 2019? When are you starting to really notice the band catching on outside of Portland and stuff? Like, are you guys starting to get like better offers? And are you starting to get like, even just fan mail and stuff or email? Obviously when we were growing up, it was like you get letters, but now you're probably getting emails and stuff. But when are you starting to notice that there's definitely something going on for Witch Vomit?
Yeah, it's about then we were starting to actually get offers for, playing like festivals or whatever. And yeah, like you said, people sending messages and trying to get our merch, which wasn't, readily available to anybody outside of town. So I guess it became a little clear that sort of had interest outside of our city.
You guys played in Canada for the first time that year also? Or off that
Yeah.
record?
Uh, it might have been before the record came out. I think we played there in 2018, the Covenant Festival. And yeah, we got to play with Incantation, and it was the same Blasphemy played that fest, which
Nice.
was fucking awesome to be able to see them. Yeah, that was probably our first show outside of Portland, Seattle area.
When you guys first started coming up, any disappointments on the way up that you've met, like playing with bands and shit, or has everyone been cool to you?
No, everybody's been pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure if I thought really hard, I could come up with a story about someone being a dick, but no, I mean, I feel like we've had good experiences with people. One that sticks with me is when we played with Pro Fanatica. Like, we broed down with Paul pretty hard in the green room, and it was cool to see somebody like that's been around for that long be so down to earth and just bullshit with annoying young kids. So yeah, people have been pretty cool.
Yeah, they just played here like 2 weeks ago with Spider. Pro Fanatica sounded great. It was a killer show. But you guys also played 2019. You guys played Metal Threat also with Deceased. We actually had King Fally on here for like what was it? Ed, like 5 hours, and King's the man. And I think JG didn't play that show with y'all.
Yeah, he didn't. Oh, it was killer. That was the first like witch vomit fly out kind of gigs. We did that in a festival in New York called Stardust Festival with Dead Congregation and a bunch of bands from around there. But yeah, it was awesome, dude. Yeah, we had Chelsea from Fetid filling in on bass for us for those two shows because Jason couldn't make it.
Was
But
that
yeah, it was
Cardiac Arrest
exciting.
played that too, right? With you guys?
Yeah, they did. They played the Metal Threat. Uh, yeah, a bunch of cool bands. First time seeing like Piss Grave. Or no, that's not true because I saw them at Killtown. But they played. They were sick. Ossuary from Milwaukee. They were awesome there. Yeah, a bunch of good bands. The Chasm. Yeah, it was fun. It's cool to play, other side of the country for the first time. We met Mark from Empatigo, and he
Oh, that's
was
awesome.
a fan of ours, which was kind of a crazy moment for me because Empatigo was a huge influence for us. And he was, he knew our album and bought a shirt and everything. So yeah, that was killer.
When you guys played with Autopsy, did you get to meet Ryford at all?
But yeah, we punished them. Yeah.
He's a great guy. I heard you do an interview, and I heard something you had said. Obviously, Torture Rack, and you got Witch Vomit, right? You got most of the members in the same bands, but so you guys actually get promoters who try to get bargains on you guys because you guys are shared members.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't tell you that's surprising. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, a lot of times we'll just do it. It's not, I wouldn't say bargaining. It's just like, hey, can we get Witch Vomit and Torture Rack? And usually it's like, yeah, of course. But there's been a few instances where someone's like, I saw that you played in this band, so can we get them? And it's like, I played one show with that band. I'm not in it. And then they'll like argue about that. And it's like, well, are you kidding me? I don't
Oh,
know
so
what
they're
to
not
tell
trying to
you.
give you less money then. They're not
No,
trying
I
to say,
mean,
okay,
yeah,
since you
eventually, yeah. I'm sure that's the main deal, but it's like, yeah, can we get these two bands for this price? Because it's only so many people. But whatever. I mean, shit, dude. People are always trying to get over on you, so.
Yeah, it's very true. And you guys don't like to actually, what you guys have done, which we'll talk about too, is but you try not to put the bands on the same bill, playing the same shows all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of, it can be kind of a hassle, but yeah, it's the only way it's gonna work or whatever, then yeah, we'll do it for sure. I think next year we're gonna do some shows together, so it'll be fun. Yeah, we had offers to do like full US tours, and we've thought about that. Like, fuck, that would 2 sets a night for 30 days would be kind of brutal.
Pretty draining. We were talking about Anti earlier. 2019 Torture Rack does the first mini tour with Cadaveric Incubator and the
Yep.
Necro Drunks. How was that tour?
That's fucking awesome, man. Yeah, stoked. Uh, those guys rule. We got along great. Shows were fun. Um, they introduced us to the song "Crazy Boy" by Drakkar. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
I have not.
Well, check that out when you have some time. It'll blow
You
your
got
mind.
what would you guys play? Portland, Oakland, LA, and then Long Beach?
Yeah, just a little West Coast jaunt.
I know you guys played Finland, which we'll talk about too. Do you guys see Antti when you're out there and stuff? And those guys
Yeah,
from
he
Cadaveric?
he picked us up from the airport. I mean, the last thing Torture Rack did out there, those guys set up, so we played with them. A couple shows in Finland and Copenhagen.
You guys play in Mexico, and you guys played CDMX. You guys played a couple shows, 2 shows in Mexico, I believe, and so you saw your own merch that they're reselling on the market, on the
Well,
bootleg
it was
market.
some dude kind of came up to me like bashfully and showed me like one patch, and he's like, "I made this for you." I was like, "Dude, that's fucking awesome!" And then he showed me like a ton of other shit. It was like, "Can I sell this?" It's like, "Yeah, go for it." 'Cause it was the first time I'd ever seen that, so I thought it was like kind of flattering. It was like, "Whoa, we got bootlegged. This is
Ki
huge."
King Fowley said that on our show. He said, "Man, if you're getting bootlegged, you're doing something right." I mean,
Yeah, that's
it's
how
like,
I felt.
yeah. Did they
Now
at
I've
least give
seen
you a
shit
copy?
on the internet, and it's like every shirt design we've ever made is, being sold on eBay, and that pisses me off, but
In the box
whatever.
form?
Yeah.
Shit's awful, man. Did they at least give you a copy of the patch or give you a couple things?
Yeah, I got a bunch of them. So it was sick because we never had patches, so yeah.
How were the Mexican gigs outside of that?
Oh, fucking awesome. Yeah, one of them got canceled. We were supposed to play in some small town, like, outside of Mexico City, and I think the venue got shut down, and so we, like, jumped on, like, a kind of a mixed bill punk show at a record shop, which, it was kinda cool. It sort of brought us back to our youthful days, but, yeah, I think I played through a Line 6 Spider practice amp on a chair, and Vinny had, like, a two-piece drum set. So it was stupid as shit, but it was very fun. And then the main gig that we were brought over for was like an outdoor thing, and it was packed and people were very enthusiastic. And we played with some cool bands. I wish I could remember the name. Infesticide, maybe, from Mexico. They were cool, like Necrovore, Morbid Angel style band. Super talented.
And when you're traveling, have you guys ever had to have you dealt with any of the food poisoning or anything like that on your travels?
Oh, I got it once I got home from Mexico. I got fucking destroyed.
Had you drink the water, man?
No, I don't think so. I was trying not to, but something got me.
And you've played in Europe, obviously you played in Canada, you played in the States. So far, man, what is your favorite crowds that, or obviously there's a difference, right? You could definitely see a difference between a European crowd or an American crowd or obviously a South American crowd. I don't know if you guys have been to South America yet, but what is the most intense crowd?
I mean, that Mexico City show, I feel like people, they're like more grateful that you made that trip and they're pretty enthusiastic. But I don't know. I mean, shit, plenty of places. I feel like every time we've ever played in Baltimore, it's been a rowdy, like packed show. Chicago, LA's good. I mean, Killtown is fun. Certain places in Europe, it's like there's a lot of people, but they're just stoic and don't look like they're having fun at all.
You also grow up playing at punk shows early back in the day, and those can get a little, those house shows can get a little crazy sometimes too. So it's just always different. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it just
you guys,
depends. I mean, it doesn't really matter where you are. I feel like if it's just the mood is right and the crowd is having fun, then we'll have fun too. But if I'm just playing and staring at people staring at me, then it's not going to be that great of a time.
you guys get into it, and you're not really into the whole boring band thing. The guys should just stand there.
No, I'm not. I'm not into the whole boring band thing. I don't know. I feel like you got a headbang or something. But it's just natural. It's not like I'm thinking like, all right, need to headbang. It's just that's the kind of music we play. So we get into it. And especially if, the crowd is lively and you got nerves and shit, then you'll go even crazier. It's just kind of a natural thing.
2021, you guys do the Abhorrent Rapture EP. And at first, you guys' plan was to do a full length, but with the whole COVID thing, you kind of put that idea on ice.
Yeah, pretty much. Cause like I said, we just put out the Buried Deep album and we were going to tour and do all this shit and it got canceled. So we didn't want to release another full album and not be able to like play any shows to support it or whatever. But we still wanted to write music and put something out just to fill our time. So we just did that 4-song mini LP instead.
I think I'd heard you say that when you recorded that, it was pretty brutal on your voice.
I don't really remember. I think I probably do vocals wrong because I always end up hurting my voice, but I was trying to definitely sing in a very brutal fashion on that recording.
And EP wise, with Torture Rack, you guys also do in 2020 Pit of Limbs EP, 4 tracks, came out January 2021. And what do you remember about those sessions?
Yeah, I think we did that in a day with Mursky as well. That was for a 7-inch for Extremely Rotten and Parasitic. And those are more of our kind of mortician-y, grindy songs. I mean, there's one song that's over 2 minutes and the rest of them are just, a minute long or less, couple riff, just brutal grinding shit. So yeah, that was easy to record.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I think that's like it's like a little bit over 6 minutes, that time for the whole EP. And if you look at the material for Torture Rack, I think there's like one song over 5 minutes, Corpse Revenge, off the 2018 one release. But you guys pretty much range, 2 to 3 minutes on all the tracks. And that's intentional,
Yeah,
kind of keep it
pretty
short but
much.
sweet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just sort of fitting for the style that we do. We're trying to just be in your face and brutal and heavy. And we're not really trying to write like some sort of magnum opus.
And the cover art on that was done by David of Undergang.
Yeah.
We are talking earlier too about like vinyl. Are you a believer that if it's not physical, it's just not like, because that now there's bands like, even when we do this show, we like announce releases in the beginning of the show, always underground releases. I notice, it's kind of like I always have this dilemma. It's like if it's a digital release, to me, it's like almost feels like it's not a real release. Do you kind of agree with that, or do you have a different take on that?
No, I hear you for sure. I don't buy as much shit nowadays as I would like to. I mean, when I was younger, it was like, that was my complete obsession, was buying records and everything. So I do listen to a lot of shit digitally, but I feel like if as a band, if I didn't have a physical release, then yeah, it wouldn't feel complete. It's cool to have something to look through and everything,
Definitely. And when you're on the road, are you hitting like record shops and stuff like that all over the place?
Yeah, we do. I mean, when time allows, but we don't really go too far out of the way to do that.
Then you guys to 2022, Witch Vomit tours Europe. And what you guys do, 2 weeks there with Mortiferium?
Yeah, it was like, I think we were there for close to 3 weeks, but yeah, 2 weeks of shows with Mortiferium, and then ended at the Killtown Death Fest.
And the first show was in Helsinki?
Yep. Helsinki Death Fest.
Yeah, how was your experience at the Helsinki Death Fest?
It was killer. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. So I think that's still a pretty new festival, but yeah, we had a good reception. It was a fun show. The crowd was slightly more lively than other things have played in Europe. But yeah, it was killer, man. Saw Crypts for the first time, who I've been a fan of since their demo. It's cool to see them.
Out of all the fests you guys have played so far, do you have a favorite on the list?
Probably that 2018 Killtown. was my favorite thing we've done.
I'm going to play Lord of the Massgrave from Torture Rack. And what can you tell us about this track?
I don't remember too much. I think Pierce wrote the majority of the riffs, but it's got kind of a suffocation-y riff to start it off. I don't know. It's fast, brutal, got a wanky guitar solo.
What are some of your favorite Torture Rack songs to play live?
Chamber Morbidity. That's probably our, I don't know, favorite song to play live. Coven Crusher. That's probably my favorite Torture Rack song. It's got a sick guitar break that's just extremely headbangable. And if you watch the video from our last show with Pierce in Portland, during that song, there's a good like line of all of our friends stage diving to that song. So that's a sick one.
And your favorite Torture Rack full length is the first one?
Yeah, for sure.
This is Torture Rack with Lord of the Massgrave. We'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track. That was Lord of the Massgrave from Torture Rack in 2023. You guys put out the Onslaught full length, the band's third full length. Where was this album recorded at?
We recorded that at Helvet Studios with this dude named Shannon, who we just met then. We were supposed to record it with Mursky, but he got tied up in something and had to cancel on us. And we kind of already had that time frame blocked out, and somebody recommended that guy, so we just sort of took a chance and recorded with him. But it turned out good. He did a good job. We meshed pretty well.
Another 2 or 3 day experience?
No, that we spent like 5 days that time actually, because he does everything multi-track, and it was a little bit more of a meticulous process, but yeah, it worked out in the end.
Yeah, and you guys worked with, on the album art, you guys worked with Rock, obviously, which is awesome from Sadistic, and then obviously he did the logo for Slayer magazine and stuff back in the day, man, and, how was that for you? Are you a fan of Rock's work, musically and art-wise?
But yeah, big time. I love Sadistic Execution, I love his style, and, it fits us really well. I think that was Jason's idea to use him to I don't know, we wanted something a little, like, sharp and violent rather than drippy and gory, which seems to be very popular at the time, and it fits. It's I think the art direction was something like, the Orgasmatron cover, but made death metal, which he did. It looks killer. Yeah, it was
That's definitely
awesome.
cool. And you also mentioned with Pierce, it's his, last album with Pierce on guitar. Obviously, he's also drummed with, Skeletal Remains from 2020, 2024, which we'll talk about in a minute also. But, why did he leave the band, and did you guys know that he was leaving during that time period when you guys were recording that record?
Yeah, he told us he was gonna leave before that, and he just we'd already worked on all those songs together, so he said he'd record that with us, and then that would be it. I think he just wanted to focus more on drumming, which makes sense because guitar is sort of a second thing for him, and he was getting, offers to be a touring drummer essentially, which I think is what he wants to do. So, makes sense.
Now, are you a guy who, like, speaking of, like, wants to focus on his drumming and stuff, now, are you someone who actually do you love playing guitar, or is it just something that's part of the tools that you need to create what you create? Are you like we already talked earlier where you're not really a big gear guy, you're not obsessed with gear. When you were growing up, were you practicing, like, 10 hours a day, or were you kinda just learning as you go?
I'm more into it now than I ever have been. I think for a minute there, I would pretty much only play at practice, um, and it was sort of just that, like a tool to, write songs and be in a band, but I'm definitely a guitar guy now, and I play for hours, like, every day.
With Torture Rack, you guys toured Europe in 2024. You guys were supposed to do a split too that didn't come out yet.
Yeah, it's not out yet, but it's recorded, or at least our side's done, and we recorded it with that Shannon guy. So, I don't know, hopefully it'll be out soon. Sounds killer so far, it sounds heavy. I think it just needs to get mastered.
And who are you guys doing a split with? If you can announce it.
Yeah, I think so, I don't think it matters. It's, Sequestrum from Denmark. It's, David from Undergang, a band he's been doing for a couple years now, that we played with them in, Copenhagen.
You guys are also playing, speaking of the future, you guys are playing Maryland Death Fest 2026.
Yeah, we'll be there next year.
Are you guys kinda just starting to write new material, or
Yeah, we got quite a few new songs written. So, yeah, we'll do a new record whenever that's all done, but we're always working on new shit, and, we're gonna do something in April. Torture Rack will be on tour. I don't know exactly where yet, so I'm not gonna say. And then we'll probably do some extra dates around, Death Fest. I think we're gonna try and do Witch Vomit, Torture Rack, Hemorrhoid all together, hopefully. And, yeah, we're a couple other fests next year in the summer, so we'll be out there.
and yeah, speaking of touring and stuff, I mean, we mentioned also with Pierce, he drummed with, Skeletal Remains for those couple years. He also got you on a tour, the 2024 Fragmenting North American tour with Skeletal Remains, Bewitcher, and Witch Vomit, and Torture Rack. Well, I think Torture Rack did 9 dates and Vomit did, you guys did 10 dates on that one?
Think it was more than that. So we were out for a month, and we split it right down the middle, so it was probably more like 13 or 14 each band.
And that was
But
set up
yeah,
by Pierce.
it wasn't set up. He asked us to get on while he was still in the band, so we agreed, and then he was out of the band by the time it happened. But yeah, it was a good time. It was
Yeah,
cool
we
to
were
do that.
talking me and you were talking before the show too, and you guys actually, I think it was I wanna say it was Hurricane Helena, but you guys were in Florida in September of 2024. You guys played at the Conduit, and it was you guys were just dodging the hurricane during that?
Yeah, we were like it was happening, I think it had come through there a day or 2 before we got there, so we got to see a little the aftermath of some wreckage and everything, but we didn't have any problems, so that worked out. And that Florida show was one of the best shows on that tour for sure.
And, on the end of the tour, your van got robbed in Portland?
Yeah, it was pretty
That's
awesome. Yeah, I'm still realizing shit that got stolen. I was like, I had a box full of bullet belts, like an ammo case, and I went looking for that the other day. I was like, oh fuck, that got stolen from the van too. And like random articles of clothing. I'm like, oh shit.
Is that the first time you guys got robbed on the road all these years?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, I mean, it could have been way worse. It's not like a passports got stolen in a foreign country type thing, but it's still pretty lame. And it makes sense. There's car stealing out of cars is pretty popular in Portland.
And on that tour you guys did in 2024 with Skeletal Remains, how was in general, the tour itself, how was it for you guys?
It was fun, man. We had a good time. That was the only like package tour we've ever done so far to date. So it's kind of strange playing like essentially the same exact show every night. Yeah, it was good. It's a cool experience. We got along with everybody. These guys are nice. Got to play a lot of places we hadn't been before.
Yeah, where would you like to play that you haven't played yet?
I mean, it'd be cool to go South America, Asia, Australia would be awesome. Hopefully, we'll try and do that soon. It's just kind of a big undertaking.
We opened the show with the latest Witch Vomit record title track, Funeral Sanctum, came out April 5th, 2024 on 20 Bucks Spin. Who came up with that title?
Oh, that was me. It's sort of, I mean, just sums up the idea for the album cover and kind of the atmosphere of the whole album.
And the album cover itself, you speak of that, like, it's an awesome album cover done by Matt Sticker again. Whose idea was the artwork?
Yeah, it was my idea to do something like Necrolord style, kind of throw people off with a weird black metal looking album cover. And I figured Matt could pull it off with his own little style, and he did. I mean, I think it looks great.
That's awesome cover. You also on this record, you kind of wanted to add a little more melodicness to it and change up the vocals a little, like do kind of like a more a hooky album.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I've was kind of fixated on trying to avoid making like riff train songs, which I feel like our last mini LP was kind of like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love that kind of song, but I wanted to try and make shorter, like more concise songs with not 10 riffs that don't repeat in them. So yeah, it's a little bit different and it's a little more melodic for sure. I was using some dissection, sacramentum influence.
And again, you guys recorded that at Red Lantern. Was that another 2 or 3 day process?
That was like 5 days, I'm pretty sure, but we were done with everything by the 4th day, and that was mostly just me fucking around, like thinking I was gonna add keyboards to shit and then taking it off. So yeah, we really don't need 5 days, otherwise things kind of go south.
If you look at like all your full lengths, not count, I know the EP, the Blood EP is your favorite, probably release maybe. What is your favorite full length that you guys have done thus far?
I do like the new one quite a bit. I feel like the songwriting is probably the best it's ever been, but I would say probably the first one is my favorite. I don't know. It's just that one feels organic and sounds exactly how we sounded at the time. We didn't think too hard about it at all. It just kind of came together.
You guys also, we mentioned, Torture Rack playing Maryland Death Fest 2026, and, you guys are also playing that. Witch Vomit will be on that.
Yeah, we'll be on that too.
Have you
So
played
yeah,
Maryland Death Fest before?
but yeah, Torture Rack played in
Oh, that's right.
2017.
With Autopsy.
Yep, Autopsy, Macabre, Root played, which was fucking awesome.
Was that the famous Autopsy show? Because I think, Ed, did you play that same Maryland Death Fest, didn't you? Was that the one with the Cunnilingus going on out in,
Yep.
No,
Yep.
no, I don't think so. I thought that was like a couple years ago.
that might have been 2020,
Or
Ed?
who knows? Maybe it happens every time and I missed it,
20,
but
22.
Oh, it was 22 that
22.
happened. Okay, yeah, so this was, okay. Yeah, we were the famous, Autopsy performance.
yeah.
What
Hey,
else do you guys have coming up? Do you First of all, are you guys starting to think about a next record or another EP?
Witch Vomit, yeah, we're gonna record 2 new songs, hopefully in the next couple months or so for a 7-inch release. And yeah, that's all we got going so far. We definitely took a little break from writing, but we were busy playing shows and everything. And that album took us a while to write, so we needed a break. But yeah, we got 2 new songs that we'll record and put out pretty shortly here, hopefully.
Now it seems like, we all grew up where you made full albums, right? I mean, EPs too and stuff, but now it seems like bands are making less full lengths and more of the 3 songs or 5-song EPs. What's your opinion on that for your bands, for obviously for Witch Vomit and Torture Rack?
I mean, I love EPs and mini LPs and 7 inches, so I got no problem with it. Like some of my favorite releases are like that. I think, if you're just releasing like a remixed version of a song and a live version, then it's stupid and it's not really worth it. But I don't know, man. I got a short attention span, so if it's a good 7-inch, I'll just listen to it a couple times in a row. So I don't know. And I don't know if you could tell, but all of our full lengths are like 30 minutes long,
Yeah.
barely.
Yeah, I noticed that. And you look back, dude, I know you're only 34, man, but like, kind of like what you've achieved already. How wild is it that you've gotten this far making music? Now it seems a little bit harder. Back in the day, you had like less bands and stuff, and now there's like a million bands.
I mean, yeah, we pulled off a lot more than I thought we ever would have. So it is cool. And we don't really plan to stop anytime soon. And it seems like we keep getting, more opportunities as time goes on. So yeah, it's cool, you know?
And growing up in the, we always talk about the Tampa here because obviously we're the Tampa Morgue, and me and Ed lived in Tampa for years and played in Tampa, and you're a Portland guy. How important was the Portland scene for you growing up? And like, I mean, how much of an impact did it have for you?
It was pretty important. Like I said, when I was a kid, like the Wipers, Dead Moon thing was pretty influential to me. And then the scene that was going on around the time when we started certainly had an impact. I mean, there's a lot of those bands that I still listen to and think probably deserve more credit than they got. Like Melt Wrote is one of those bands from Portland that their album Trespass from like 2010 or something, I think is one of the best like modern extreme metal releases. So yeah, it's important. I think less so now because maybe I don't know exactly what's going on in the scene as much as I did then, but yeah, it was important getting started.
And I want to ask also, in your opinion, what was your favorite time period, either as a musician or even just as a fan, growing up in the Portland scene? For you, what time period really left an impression on you?
The bands that were around, like when I first started going to shows, definitely influenced me a lot, like the Engorged and Melt Wrote, Weregoat, Ritual Necromancy. So I think as a fan, that was probably my favorite time period because I was pretty excited about what those bands were doing. And for us, it was probably like 2018-ish when the Seattle Olympia bands started coming around, like the Fetid, Mortiferum, Cerebral Rot, like playing with those guys often. That's probably what felt the most like a cool scene for us as a band.
And earlier you mentioned opportunities you guys have been getting, and you guys have gotten some killer opportunities, whether it's Torture Rack or Witch Vomit, gig and tour wise. Now, are you someone who enjoys touring, and what do you think is like the shittiest part of touring, in your opinion?
I do like it, yeah. We didn't really start, like, actually touring until quite a bit later into our, I guess, career, if you wanna call it that. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's fun as shit. I like just hanging out with the band all the time and chit-chatting, putting on music, and driving around, being lazy, playing gigs every night. It's fun. Probably the worst part is sitting around at venues for, you know, 5, 6 hours before the show even starts. But whatever, I got nothing better to do. So it's all pretty fun to me.
Yeah, and I think that's something that people who haven't done it kind of get this misconception about is like people think you guys have a lot of time to like walk around and tour the areas and stuff like that, but it's not always like that, right? You're kind of sometimes just stuck at the venue.
Yeah, most of the time. When we were in Europe, there was a couple times where we, like, had to make sure we're like, "All right, we're gonna not sound check. We're gonna load in late so we can go see, like, a castle or go fucking see the Eiffel Tower for 1 second, because who knows if we'll ever come back." But most of the time, yeah, it's just lucky to have one meal before just being stuck in a venue.
What's your favorite, like, of all the countries you visited, what's your favorite food-wise that you've been to?
Probably Mexico is the best, honestly, and definitely the cheapest. But yeah, Europe people kinda treat you better, and they always make you, like, a band meal, which is usually some sort of vegan curry and hummus and bread or something, but it's better than in the States where it's like 1 drink ticket to
And
split
pizza
between
every night.
everybody. Yeah, if that.
What country that you kind of fell in love with or, were most impressed with?
We've been to Copenhagen and Denmark, like, quite a few times, so I feel like now we're kinda comfortable, like, navigating around 'cause I kinda remember the neighborhoods and things like that, and it's sorta similar to where we are, so I don't know, I like it over there quite a bit. Paris was probably, like, the most culture shock one where it was kinda crazy to walk around and think that we were actually playing there, just having written some stupid death metal riffs.
And do you feel fortunate that you make music with people that you could actually hang out with for a couple weeks and not wanna kill? Because we always say on this show, you really learn who your bandmates are after a couple weeks in a van with them. And for you, do you feel like that's something you got lucky with both bands?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've been friends for a long time now, and I think that probably comes before the band even. I mean, we've had our share of, like, disagreements over the years over stupid shit, but we always get along, and it's awesome to have a dynamic like that rather than, like, we're business partners and, you work for me or whatever the fuck. Like, we're all just friends doing the same thing, and we can joke around, and yeah, it's awesome.
And what's your opinion on? Because 'cause I'm sure you've probably gotten hit with it a few times now, with the merch fees? Because I think when you go on those larger tour packages, the venues kinda take a percentage of the merch. Have you dealt with that, and, what's your thoughts on that?
No, it's only happened, like, a couple venues that we've played because we really haven't done a lot of big, package tours, but our friend who was, tour managing for us at the time, Leah, she's a lot better at being bossy than any of us, so she just refused it, and they were like, "Oh, okay." So it worked out. But I mean, it's like we're gonna give them $10 at the end of the day. I don't know. I think that whole thing is bullshit. They're getting enough money from drinks at the bar.
Definitely, which is brought to them by the bands that are coming there usually. So, it's
Yeah.
definitely a fact. Are you making more money off the T-shirts and merch than more than the guarantees sometimes at some of these shows?
But yeah, pretty much always. Um, I mean, depending on where you are, sometimes you just have a off night and people don't seem to be interested in merch, but most of the time it's yeah, getting like all of our money from merch. And I think that's kind of universal for bands.
And, I'm gonna let you get out of here in a few minutes, man, but I know we mentioned that you guys got Maryland Death Fest coming up 2026 with both bands. What else is going on for you guys that, you can tell us about tour-wise for Witch Vomit?
For Witch Vomit, we have got a festival in the Netherlands, Stonehenge Fest in July, and it's with like Carcass, Immolation, Grave, bunch of killer bands. And then we'll be doing another fest in Europe in June that hasn't been announced yet, and we'll probably tour around that. Torture Rack will be playing that fest as well. Torture Rack will also be at the Tones of Decay Fest in Prague in April, and we're going to do like about a week of shows around that, but those haven't been announced yet, so I'm not sure exactly what they'll be. And then around MDF, we'll try and do probably a week of shows with Witch Vomit, Torture Rack, and Hemorrhoid. So we'll announce that hopefully pretty soon.
Anybody who's looking for anything like records or T-shirts or anything Witch Vomit or Torture Rack related, where would you send them?
For Torture Rack, we got things on Pyre Press. If you go to their website, there's some Torture Rack shirts. Necroharmonic, Roy has got a shirt of ours. And then there's some new merch for the European legions from Fury merchandise in Prague for Torture Rack. Witch Vomit, we've got nothing up right now, but I'll put our big cartel shop online hopefully next week because I got a bunch of shirts and records I need to get rid of. So I'll probably post about that on Instagram when it's up.
Do you guys have an Instagram page and you guys have a Facebook page also? Because the Facebook page is outdated, right?
Yeah, we haven't used that in years. But yeah, there's a Witch Vomit Instagram, and Torture Rack doesn't have any online presence, but I'll post about shit about the Torture Rack as well on the Witch Vomit one. Also, usually Head Split Records will post anything important that we're doing. But yeah, if you check the Witch Vomit stuff, I'll post about Torture Rack's deal as well.
I think we covered everything, or is there anything else you could think of?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, we're going to be out in Europe a couple times next year, which is a little overdue. And then some gigs in the States around MDF, hopefully some other local shit as well. But yeah, actually, Witch Vomit is going to do a couple gigs in the Northwest with Perdition Temple in March. I think we're announcing that this week. So yeah, it's exclusive for them. I don't think they've ever been out here, but that'll be cool.
Yeah, man, great band. We know Ronnie and obviously Gene, and Gene was on here, God, probably like 2 years ago, but killer band. They didn't have a new release coming out too, so.
Yeah, fuck yeah, we're stoked. We've been fans of that band for a while. Like I said, Angel Corpse a big influence, so it's kind of cool to get them out here.
That's awesome, man. And I wish you guys too, man, the best of luck. Because have you guys done many interviews, or are you guys kind of selective with what you're doing?
Yeah, we haven't done a lot. Only with Roy, and maybe I've done one other podcast, but I don't know. Usually try and keep everything under wraps, unless it's a show that I like.
Dude, man, again, Tony, I appreciate everything, man. You giving us your time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. Anything else you want to say on your way out of here? Because we're going to end the show with Black Wings of Desolation off the latest Witch Vomit record.
Fuck yeah. Support the underground. Quit listening to new metal. That's pretty much it. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely, man. And so anything you can tell us about this track we're about to play?
Yeah, it's kind of a obituary cause of death opening riff, and the rest is sort of straightforward, kind of thrashing Swedish death metal. Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs from the new album. We played it live pretty much every show since we've written it.
Killer, man. Again, Tony, thanks, man, and best of luck, dude. And when you guys have anything else going on, just let us know, and we're always free to come on here.
Right on. Thank you. Cheers.
This is Witch Vomit with Black Wings of Desolation from the Funeral Sanctum album on 20 Buck Spin, April 5th, 2024. And we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track. And that was Witch Vomit with Black Wings of Desolation from the Funeral Sanctum album that came out April 5th, 2024 on 20 Bucks Spin. And Ed, episode 117 in the books, and another one bites the dust, man.
Yep. They just keep on flowing right on through, and I love every second of it.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to figure out, like we were talking about last week, I'm still trying to figure out February because I'll be in Florida for a few weeks taking care of some business and visiting the Metal Museum and catching up with Ed and some of the other guys. So maybe we'll pre-record a couple episodes and just, we'll figure it out. We always do. Like you said last episode too, is we were planning on taking some time off last November and we still wound up recording while I was in Florida. So I'm sure that'll happen again. We'll have a lot of shit to talk about too, because we'll actually have been at the Metal Museum. I'm sure we'll grab a couple guys from that eventually and stuff, so looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? We might be able to, while we're there or beforehand or something, get something in the books. And, if we have the ability to do it, it makes sense to just do it. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. We've had stuff pop up last second where you're like, hey, I just got this guy who wants to come on, and we did it. I mean, it is what it is.
I always say the Anal Vomit interview was about maybe 9 hours before they left for tour, and
Yep.
he got a hold of me. It was like, hey, you want to do this today? And I was like, fuck it. So yeah, we make it happen. We try to the best we can, and Ed's right. That's pretty much what we do. And again, we're not influencers. We're not YouTube personalities. We're the farthest thing from that. And we just kind of fell into this. We never planned on doing. I don't know what the hell we planned on when we first started doing this podcast. Just yeah, I really, to be honest with you, if you told me we'd be at 117 episodes, I would never believe it. So
I said that at 75.
yeah. Even at 50, yeah. Now it's like, I keep on thinking too, because I used to think back in the day, I'm like, maybe we'll do 100 and call it a day. And now I'm like, okay, maybe we'll do 200 and call it a day. So you just never fucking know, right? I mean, nothing's promised, obviously, but we appreciate everybody who listens as always. And also we are, which I should have mentioned this in the beginning of the show, we are printing up another batch of shirts, which I know there's like bands that have been on here that we have to send some to and stuff also. But anybody who's listening right now who wants to send us, give us some idea sizes, feel free to message us. You can email us, which Ed will tell you about in a second, or message us on the Instagram page. But I kind of want to get a count because, me going back to the States and getting shirts printed, there's usually a pause in between about a year or two. I mean, Ed can get shirts printed over there too, but it's easier if we do it together. So I could bring some back to Europe to send out, vice
Right.
versa. So
Yep.
if you are looking for a Tampa Morgue shirt, you can see the designs on our Instagram page. You can see guys like Glenn Destructor wearing them. The guys from Witch Trap, King Fowley's wearing one on there, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some others.
Yeah, you might
But
see one on the new Monstrosity record. In a
yeah,
picture that
exactly.
the singer's wearing one, maybe,
Maybe,
possibly.
yeah. And there'll be more coming out too, like I said. But if you guys want to grab one, just let us know and kind of give us an idea of sizes because, you know, it's easier to know prior so we can kind of plan ahead. So, and Ed, I don't know about you, man, but I'm burnt. What about you?
Yep. Let's make like a tree and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so give them the info that we always give them at the end of this charade.
Yep. Anywhere and everywhere there are podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, doesn't matter. YouTube, no video, deal with it. The Tampamorgue at gmail.com for email correspondence or sending those big fat checks to pay me and Tony. Venmo, Cash App coming soon. And then, of course, Instagram, because Tony's on top of that shit, and I see it every day he's posting stuff, and that's how you stay relevant. Because
We're
Facebook
forced to
sucks.
stay relevant, I know.
Well, Facebook sucks, man. I just realized that why I look on it
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
dude, it's
just
fucking
a
lame.
cesspool of humanity, and I look at it and I just go, man, why? Why am I on here? I like to sell shit on there
Yeah, it's
because
kinda
people will
like you're
buy my
just
shit.
wasting your fucking time, right? If you look at it, it's just wasting your time at the end of the day. It's what it
Well,
is, and,
before it was a good way for me to network for work, my business and for the band to get stuff out there. But at the end of the day, I truly believe nobody gives a shit. They're all into their own little worlds and,
it's either what they're
you know,
eating,
nobody,
politics, or,
yeah, exactly. Nobody supports anybody anymore. Unfortunately, it's,
it's all who
the
you blow.
days of no egos are unfortunately over.
And that's why we take people back in the day here on the Tampa Morgue and take them to a better time. And, Ed mentioned big fat checks. If anybody comes to Tampa Bay Museum of Metal, I will definitely accept some big fat joints. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
anybody wants to smoke one of those, just let me know. I'm definitely down. But, and we definitely want to thank Tony Thomas, aka Tempter of Witch Vomit and Torture Rack, for hanging out tonight. I'm probably going to catch them in Poland, I think, actually. Some upcoming shows that I was talking to Tony about. So if you haven't checked them out, killer band. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Ed, anything else on your side?
I'm all done, man.
And for everybody, appreciate you listening. And we'll be back next week on the Tampa Morgue, and we'll let King Fowley take us away. Ed, you have a good first week of December.
You too, brother.
Peace.
See ya.
This is King Fowley from Deceased, and you just listened to another episode of the Tampa Morgue. Tune in next week and stay fucking dead.